1, 2, 3, and go. That's what Jessica said over and over.
Yeah,
1, 2,
we
3.
weren't going.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
So we're here going. I hope you hear us going.
Me too.
Beautiful people.
Hello.
I missed you. Jessica's going to say she missed you, but I said it.
No. I already had this in my mind before she said this. But I miss you.
I said it.
I really do.
First. I really did miss you guys.
Gosh.
Did you miss them though?
I really did.
I did.
I truly
you.
did. I miss you.
I see you every day.
I know.
And
I still miss you.
I love her.
What can we say? She's my person. What do I have to tell you?
So let's get into it. It's a new month. It's a new year.
Yes.
It's our first video of the new year.
Yep.
And, I sit down to say, what is the word? I sit down to say I'm making a guarantee of consistency now.
Yes.
And so I'm good with that. I missed it. It's in my spirit. It's ready to go. I miss talking to you guys, and I'm excited to connect with more people and help more people this year than ever before, because good things are coming, baby. Believe it. Know it. Own it.
I love it.
Yes. And speaking of know it and own it, today that is actually what we're talking about is ownership. And I like breaking it down to ownership and own your ship. And I said ship, S-H-I-P. So I don't want to hear people trying to come and say, well, I heard you say owner. I said ownership. Own your ship.
That's
and
right.
And if you go and say that, then you better own your ship too and know what I really said.
Yeah.
So I really want to talk about ownership, because one of one of the most valuable things about ownership is it releases more power in your life than you know. And a lot of times people don't want to take ownership for things, or they take ownership for things that aren't their things to have ownership about, or they try to run away from ownership. So I want to talk today, and that's the goal, is to allow you guys to have this understanding that ownership is actually one of the most powerful things you can do for yourself. In every single way. If you're a parent, for your kids, it's amazing to teach them this, and everywhere around, So I think the first way of starting with ownership will be fun with apologies. I think that is where I'm going to go with it to start.
And that's a big one. That's a big one, because you hear so many different conversations, so many different thoughts on apologies, and a lot of justification actually when it comes to apologies and why someone may not want to apologize.
And see, and I always ask you, and I told you this, what's wrong with being wrong? See, there's nothing wrong with being wrong or admitting that you did something wrong. What's wrong is when you don't admit you did something wrong. That's the issue. You see what I'm saying? So a lot of people, they sit down, they say what they say, they do what they do, and they realize that they came to a wrong point, and then they're fearful of admitting that they were wrong for it. And so they're like, oh, people are going to look at me crazy or this and that. Who cares? Honestly, being wrong is not a problem unless you view it as one. And being wrong, the problem with being wrong is if you don't own up to being wrong. So I think one of the important things as well is learning about apologizing and apologizing correctly. Because I don't think anyone knows about this in many ways. They hear about it, but they say it, they apologize, but they don't actually know why they're apologizing, And so I would say the first example, let's go with an apology done wrong. So the first one is the common one that many people will know. Jessica, I'm sorry you felt hurt. I'm sorry you felt hurt.
You're sorry I felt hurt. Okay. So you're not sorry for what you did, but you're sorry
you felt hurt.
That I felt hurt.
That you felt hurt, know. And, the next one is if I did anything. If I did
so
anything.
You don't know that you did something.
Yeah, just if I did.
Just if you happen to do something.
Yeah,
okay.
then I'm sorry.
Okay.
You know, and see, that's the thing. It wasn't what they felt. It was what you caused.
Yes.
So when you sit down and tell someone, I'm sorry you felt that way.
Yeah.
That's no. It was felt and it was caused by what you did.
Exactly.
So remove the felt and admit to what you actually did.
Yes.
And how you worded it.
Yeah.
Remember, how you word things has consequences. So that's why you need to be specific. You need to be specific when you apologize. Okay.
Yeah.
You need to say, I'm sorry, I cussed you out.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry. And not just say, I'm sorry I cussed at you. I'm sorry I said the specific word that you said to them.
Yeah.
The reason why you want to make sure you say that specific word is it shows you the power of what the word was and the power of how hurtful that word caused the pain that it did.
Yeah.
So, but you're also bringing to mind that when you say this to the person, they're able to look at you and to go, she gets it. She gets that she said this to me specifically, wasn't okay. She's wording it back. And now it brings it to the surface that this is being exposed.
Yeah.
You know, and it's very important that you want to expose things for what they are.
Exactly.
You don't want them to just keep sitting there and to not actually be able to speak on what you did. You know?
I think with that being said, when you expose that, and the person is specific about the apology, that leaves room for them not doing it again in the future. You know, that really does shift things where they're like, okay, I know exactly what I did. I know exactly what caused this person pain or hurt. And now I know what not to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. So yeah, it really sets it free, you know, and it allows you, it does something to your brain too. Neurons, you know, start to fire off to know that what you specifically had said and what you're now saying wasn't correct. To actually say it out loud, vocally, allows for your brain to retrain itself and to go, okay, that wasn't acceptable. She's saying this wasn't acceptable. He's saying it, he should have said it that way. Now, your brain actually remembers that and is able to now not utilize that word any longer.
Again.
Yeah. And if it does ever try to repeat itself, it starts to try to fix itself because it remembers that you already told it. It was no. So you make sure that you're training your brain while you're also saying that vocalization out loud to a person when you're apologizing. Okay. So being specific is very important. If you hurt your kid, feelings by not showing up to their game, you need to not just say, I'm sorry I hurt your feelings, you know, work was so busy, this and that, and and going on and on and on. The first thing you have to do is say, listen, I didn't come to your game today. I'm so sorry I didn't come to see you play. And I'm sorry I told you that I was going to be there and I did not do that. Those are the first words that you want to say, not to remove yourself, not to bring up work first and then. So the next step would be how you apologize in the hierarchy. The order in which you apologize is very important.
That's good.
So there's, for example, the wrong order would be this. I'm sorry I hurt you. Today I sat in traffic for so long and people were being really annoying all day long. So that was my day and I'm so sorry. Okay. So first off, when someone says that, what do you think?
I think, okay, so I understand you sat in traffic, but that's not, to me, an accurate apology because you are kind of justifying. You know, and I feel like for apologies, they do not carry justification with them.
Yeah. And see, and that's the thing is that there could be validity to what you actually, so don't get that wrong. There could be validity to what you actually had happen in your day. So to say that you're not going to mention those things, that makes no sense. Don't get that wrong. It's important to mention why, but it's important to have the order down first. So the order would be to first say, listen, okay, the same one going with the car ride in traffic. Today was such a long day. I sat in traffic for so long. There were people who were so annoying everywhere. And then I came and took it out on you. And that was 100,000% incorrect. I am so sorry. What do you think of that?
you're forgiven.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so good. That's clear. That explains it. But then you can tell it's heartfelt.
Yes. And it's a win-win on both ends. First off, you're apologizing. You're also being able to express yourself and vocalize what your frustration was first. So say your frustration first and then the apology after.
Yeah.
You know, it's very, very important to do so. And it will allow other people to walk away feeling the sincerity of that, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this one was very good. And another one is, when you apologize, know why you are apologizing. There's so many people, man. Come on. You're like, ugh. And half of the reason why the person doesn't know why they're apologizing is two reasons. One's toxic and the other one is still toxic, but it's more of a, I don't really care. So there's one person that will say, I apologize to you. Let's just get it over with. They want to just say it out. They don't really know. They know that you're sad. They know that you're frustrated. So they immediately want to rush to the side of the person and just spew out the word sorry. But when the other person explains what they did or how they felt because of what they don't want to hear about it.
They don't want to hear it.
I already said sorry. I already said it. And this is the thing. Even though you said sorry, allow for the other person to tell you what hurt for them. Yeah. Because you caused something there. And whether or not you are apologizing does not give you the right to now block out the other person's words. Okay. That's completely unnecessary. You know, so you want to make sure that the person has time to rightfully say what they need to say, and that you also are giving them that space by saying, that is the apology in itself, by you hearing what they have to say. Exactly. You know? Yeah. And then the second person that I said is very toxic is they might have come from a situation where they had abusive relationships, an abusive verbally abusive relationships, or even abusive to physically abusive, either one, or they don't even realize they were ever in a verbal or physically abusive relationship, sadly. But for a lot of other people, there are some people who struggle to not apologize when they did nothing wrong. And they immediately cough up an apology. But let me just tell you that when you do that, the inside of you, your spirit is not okay with that, because you didn't do anything, and you're taking ownership for something that you have no ownership for, you know, and you're taking ownership for someone else's ship. So they cause a problem and then you're saying, oh, I'm sorry. Why? It's as if someone was to not, for instance, and this person, say you don't even know them. They're a coworker and they didn't show up for work. Say you then go to, or no, they're not even they're not a coworker. They're someone you do not know. So you find out that while they're talking to someone on the phone, while you're in line waiting for your coffee, that they're saying, oh, guess what? I didn't go into work today. Ha ha ha. And you find the number to where they work. Okay, yes, you'd have to be a real stalker, but listen. So you find the number to where they work and you called their boss and you go, I just wanted to apologize for this guy. I think he was in front of me and I guess he didn't show up to work today. I just wanted to tell you sorry. Well, what does that have to do with you? Yeah. What does that have to do with you?
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 I mean, I'm really asking, what does that have to do with you? Yeah. And see, when you sit down and you say sorry and you just cough it out to other people when you did nothing wrong, you are saying that it has something to do with you when it doesn't. Yeah. So you have to check that. You got to check that at the door and make sure that you're not just doing that just because you're wanting to admit something that has nothing to do with you. Yeah. You know? Exactly. And so that is why it's very important that you know what you're saying and why you're saying it, you know? And so even if that means taking a moment after you do something to sit down and to reflect on what you did in the situation and what happened in the situation, allow that time so that you can actually know what you did wrong or what you didn't do at all before you just cough it up, you know? Yeah. So, and reflection is very important because it says that you have self-regulation. You know, before a kid goes into kindergarten or preschool, one of the criterias that the teachers will say is that they are potty trained. And the reason why they want that is because the teachers don't have the time to be potty potty training your child in class.
Yeah.
And so self-regulation is very important, because when this child goes into school for the first time and they raise their hand and say, I have to go to the bathroom, they know that they have to go, and they walk themselves to the bathroom accordingly.
Yeah.
This is the same way you must regulate yourself. When you take responsibility for something that you're doing, it's important to reflect and to have self-regulation. So you look back and you can see, what happened here?
Yeah.
Let me replay this picture. Let me see where I was wrong in this moment. And let me realize that being wrong, there's nothing wrong with it unless I don't admit it.
Yeah.
And so sitting down and looking at the cause, the reason, and then also looking at why the person might have felt hurt. And when you do that, you're parenting yourself, because you're teaching that inner kid, hey, you have to have discipline here, man. We're going to look at stuff in you and we're going to sort it through. And I'm going to tell you what you did right or wrong here, and if you really want to know if you did something right or wrong and you can't figure it out, ask someone.
Yeah.
That's also very important. Not to just, if you want to just say, oh, I didn't do anything, because every way seems right to a man. Okay. Yeah. Every way seems right to you that I didn't do anything. That's done. Yeah. But then the other person is hurt. So it's always expected that if you're just starting out on reflection, that maybe you have a trusted friend that you go to and you say, did I do anything wrong here?
And I think that's the beauty of it, really, because so many times you hear people say, okay, if you were in their shoes, or, put yourself in their shoes. You hear that so many times and people are like, oh, yeah. But really, when you are apologizing and someone is voicing, okay, this didn't sit right with me, or, that kind of hurt when you said this, I think it's so important and imperative to place yourself in that position and be like, yeah, that wasn't right. Yeah. If I was in that position, that wasn't. And even, even given the fact, even if you put yourself in that position and you're still like, still being able to sympathize with that person, I feel like goes such a long way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's necessary. It's necessary to always do that, because it also starts to bring in empathy, and a lot of people suffer from not having empathy at all. And so if you do seek to understand, it will help with that a lot more,
for sure.
The other thing, the next ownership that I think is very important is to take ownership of where you are right now in life. So what I mean by that is, it means taking ownership of loving the house you have right now before you get the other one soon. This means you stop spending above what you're making. You're not at a place where you could be spending at these other amounts that other people are. Yep. So the thing is, when you don't own your ship, owning your house, what is yours, you start to go outside of your mentality and say, oh, well, I'm going to be like them. Yeah. Well, you are going to maybe be similar to them in the future, but you aren't right now currently. So some people have a Gucci mentality with a Target budget. And the thing is that there's nothing wrong with a Gucci budget and there's nothing wrong with a Target budget.
There you go.
The problem is when you don't know which one you are. And you're trying to combine, and you're trying to live the Gucci one when you're the Target one. And that's a very frantic problem for not just your paycheck, but your mind. Because what it says is, I need more than what I have right now. And it says that you're not creative enough to actually utilize what you have in the given moment and the space that you are in to make it your own. Yes. There are DIY projects that you can do. There are so many things. And I know that there's men and women that get trapped in this this scheme, even on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok, anywhere. They're seeing all these things thrown out at them in stimulus of, this is what you should have, this is what you should do. And these bloggers that are wearing this and that, and they have this kind of necklace, or they have this kind of outfit, and they have these kind of shoes, they have this kind of couch, all these different things. And then you're sitting down and you're pulling out your endless credit cards to go and get those things. Yes. But it's not where you are right now in life. And because you're not owning your ship, you're owning debt. So now you're racked up with all this debt, and and just because other people are buying certain things doesn't mean you have to buy what they're buying. Because now you, like I said, you're going to be buying your own debt and paying back things that you wish you didn't have to pay them back for, you know?
That's good.
And so I think it's very important that you operate in the mindset that says, you know what? I'm going to be smart, because if you stick with Gucci spending, you're going to have Gucci debt, you know? Yeah. And so the main thing is to take the things that you love and change them around. There's so many beautiful things and so many different ways to do them. I mean, even Jessica knows, recently I've been taken to DIY projects on a crazy, I love decorating. And so I love, but more than that, not just to have an item that was just made, but also an item that I can also customize myself.
Yeah.
It makes it even more exciting. So I ask you to do that. Even this week, go and find yourself a DIY project. There's so many things. If you're looking at anthropology, if you look at all kinds of different, so many different interior designs, restoration hardware, whatever store that you're really into for decor, and you're liking West Elm, whatever that is, you look at all these different vases and that they have that texture that you're looking for. Go get yourself some texture spray paint, okay? Go get yourself some sand outside and rub it on these vases. Like, I'm telling you, Jessica saw me doing that. It's so much fun, and to get your hands in the mix of it, it's definitely worth it, you know? So I'm just telling you that there's a great variety in being able to be creative. So don't shy away from ever doing that, or think you have to have the thing that they have in the specific way that they have it. You know, you can find it for a lower price.
Yeah, I love that. I love that so much, because I feel like what that also does is that allows you to get to know yourself, like you said, in this creative way. A lot of people, they have not tapped into this creativity level because they're like, oh, I don't have the time, or, oh, I'm busy, or, you know, and so they kind of prevent themselves from really digging in and being like, ooh, I want to see how this works. I want to see how this. So I love that, because you get to know more about yourself. You start seeing more about, you know, what you love, interests and passions that you may have never known you had.
Yeah, exactly. It's so true. It's just, it's very good for the mind too, all the way around. Your brain. These are skills that you need to have to sharpen your mind throughout time. And people need to really realize that, is that doing these DIY projects and doing stuff like that, it keeps you young. It keeps your brain working for you, and it keeps you living longer lives, you know, free from a lot of different things that you could suffer from even, you know. And so it's very important to switch things up, always constantly looking for new ways to do that. Okay. And another aspect of ownership that I wanted to address is the one regarding encouragement to people, owning the encouragement by telling someone how amazing they are, owning your ship by speaking out and offering someone an encouraging word. You know, there's so often times where people settle for just two-worded sentences or two-worded syllables, or just not enough to offer, you know, where someone will say, for instance, oh, I got a new job. And then the response is, oh, that's awesome. Yeah. You know, or what, and so, you know, I got a new job. That's great. Cool. Good girl. You know, when you could have said, you know, I know you've been working your butt off for this. Yeah. I know that I've watched the hours you've put in. I am so excited for you. This is so amazing. And they are so lucky to have you at that new place. Yeah. You know, whereas you can leave them with a longer sense of dialogue. Go into detail. Go further than just the surface of that's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. There's so much more that you can say. And it allows people to actually be able to take in what you said, but it allows for you to be able to know that you should be able to speak into other people's lives, you know, and so often you might have wanted that for you, you know, and so be able to give that to other people, to offer them a lot more, you know, and find out more details instead of just those short sentences. Yeah. Because I'm telling you, I remember watching conversations with people where one person is leading it and they're like, so how was your day? Good. So what did you do today?
Nothing.
Oh, okay. So what are you going to do maybe tomorrow?
I'm not sure.
Do you have any plans at all, or anything you're thinking of?
I don't know yet. Yeah,
those people... anyway.
Yeah.
Well, they don't get a conversation. That's what it is. And it's really boring. Honestly, there's a lot more to be said. And if you're having that kind of spirit or personality attached to you, ask yourself why. You know, because a lot of those people are the same people that are like, I want people to talk to me. I want them to get to know me. But you give one word each time.
Yeah. And let me say this. It's not about, I know, you know, so many people say, well, you know, I'm introverted and I'm just more to myself.
But introverted does not mean you don't have depth.
Yes.
And depth, yes. Yeah. Depth is baby. Depth is period all around. You can be an extrovert and have depth and be an introvert. And I'm an introvert and an extrovert.
Yeah.
And I'm saying depth is a very important thing to carry. For all.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you keep to yourself or you talk a lot. And introverts, a lot of them read a lot of books. Extroverts too. The point in that is you've learned a lot of English language, so to speak. You know? So it should be helpful to bring you forward.
To bring that forward.
You know?
Exactly.
Yes.
I love that.
And so the final one is one of my favorite ones. It's my favorite one because it needs to be broken. And I hope that it is going to be broken for some men and women's lives this year and for the years to come. And this one is owning the ship that is not yours. Okay. So it's a major issue in people's lives that messes with their lives and really changes the course of their life because they start owning other people's ships. And what that means is when you own another person's ship, you're taking ownership over nothing that you're responsible for. And what that looks like is literally when your parents had a terrible marriage experience, right? And so you watched them fighting constantly and they weren't happy with each other and they just lived together for years and years as you grew up and you watched it endlessly. And then finally you go and you start dating and you meet someone you fall in love with and you're very happy and you guys are both doing very well and it's a healthy relationship. And, you know, you might have disagreements here and there, but it's nothing that is, you know, unhealthy about it. It's just normal disagreements that couples share. And then you find yourself dating this person for going on 20 years, okay? Or you might cross the threshold of maybe even asking that person to marry you, but it continues to go on and on and on, years and years and years of engagement. And the question is to ask yourself, because there's nothing wrong with being engaged for a period of time. It's not about rushing. So get that connected here. This is a completely different situation. This is about someone who literally is stalled out in their life because they do not want to get married because they remember what they saw in their home. They remember that their parents always were arguing and they don't want to do that same thing in front of their child. And so then they decide, well, I'm not going to get married. But, you know, one of the most brilliant things to discover is you're not your parents.
Yeah.
Your parents have a different name than you. Your parents also have a whole different story than you. They like other foods that you might not like. They like different shows that you might not watch. They read different books that you might never read. So they like different colors that you might never wear. So the thing is to understand that you are two different individuals and with two different brains and behaviorisms. Okay. So in understanding that, it's very powerful because it means that you do not have the ability, if you do not want to make the choice that they made. You have the ability to choose differently if you want to. You have the ability to make a different choice and go in a different direction. You know, and then for other people who have seen their parents go through divorce many times or even just one time, they might also come to the conclusion that they don't want to ever get married because their parents divorced. Well, let me tell you that if you're owning someone else's story, it's not for you. It's not your story. And I'll break that down by saying this. My story is different where I didn't want to get married specifically because I saw married people and they bored me. I was bored of them. I did not understand what this whole union was, where it was just what are you doing? There was no passions of their own. They didn't share things that they seemed to be fired up about together. They weren't excited. They had kids sitting in between them all the time. And they were looking over at each other, trying to see each other, and their kids are everywhere in between them. They weren't excited or even similar. They didn't even seem to be friends. And so in that regard, I said, I can't do marriage, man. If that's what that is, I'm not into it. And then I remember one day I literally came into this concept of, hold on, there's only one Georgia. Let me start speaking the truth to myself. There's only one Georgia who thinks how I think and who behaves how I behave and who has the gifts that I have, and I realized that what I needed to do was I needed to more so narrow down who the person was that was going to be for Georgia, because that, and in that friendship, in that regard of learning who this man was, I would be able to then enter into a relationship with him that was going to be amazing, and I can honestly say to you, all BS aside, okay, that me and my husband have an amazing relationship because of the investment that we have made, and because of the fact that it's been very real from the get-go, but also because of the fact that I realize that we are friends and we can share passions with each other and have our own individual aspects and connect as well. And I think that's one of the most paramount things for a relationship, is to know that as a husband and a wife, you should have things that you love. You should allow your husband to not, and that's the thing. It's so interesting, where people it's an allowance, or allow your wife to do fun things, or allow your wife to show new creative adventures, allow your husband. The thing is, it's not an allowing, it's a permittable thing that should come with the territory of being friends and being in a true marriage, and I think that if that is there, people coexist beautifully. If one person feels robbed from being able to have that right, or both people do, then it is boring. It does become stagnant, So allowing each other to have their passions and to share in some too is very, very connecting and very necessary. But the main point to come down to all of this is that you are in charge of your ship. You have the propensity to take your ship wherever it needs to go. And when you sit down and you say to yourself, you know what, just because this person did this doesn't mean I can't. Just because it was so hard last year and I couldn't start that business that I wanted to last year doesn't mean you can't this year in a different way. Yeah, there might be social distancing involved and all these new rules that people have, and you might have to figure your way out around them. And but you can figure it out. Don't let anything cause you to not be able to walk in the ship that you have already been birthed into. Okay. If you're supposed to be a CEO, go and do that in a different way, in a new way. Okay. And if you're supposed to get married, go and get married. If it is the timing, if it is the place, if it is in your wheelhouse and you know this to be true, that this person is for you and you are for them, no longer continue to stall yourself out and be scared about it. If you're a guy, don't be scared about it anymore. Your dad may have left your mom or cheated or this and that. That doesn't mean you're going to. Or even young woman, if you feel as though you're going to be cheated on just because your mom was cheated on, that does not mean you will be. So don't buy into stories that are other people's stories and claim them for your life. Yes. And I even say that to parents too. I've seen young parents now out and about, and I remember one recently shared with me, I don't like when I'm out and about because I get scared, to be, in public. I'm so young looking. And if my kids get rowdy, I get embarrassed about it. Own it. Own it. That doesn't mean, and parenting, of course, starts at home. So you have to be able to speak to them at home. But when you go out, if they're being louder or this and that, you walk with confidence. Okay. And when you do that, people will be able to look at you and go, that's a parent right there. It doesn't matter how old you are, if you're walking in confidence and doing what you need to do as a mom, as a dad, and And even as a father, own it that you're a father. Own your time with your kids. Don't be scared of having time with them or thinking, that I'm babysitting. No, that's your child. Own it. Take ownership. When you take ownership and you walk in confidence for it, you will do a lot better. You will feel very good. You will look good while you're doing it, baby. And so I want you to go out and do that this week. I want you to take ownership for things and don't let anything hold you down.
No.
And we'll be back.
Yes, we will.
Yep. Yes. So guess who's back? We love you and we appreciate you, and run and tell that.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Bye.